Hello everybody and welcome back to another video, and today we have another preview video of the Liga MX. It's the Jornada 2 and we got three top must-see games for this upcoming weekend. And what a game we start things off with. It's none other than Cruz Azul versus Guadalajara. There you guys can see the ball being picked up. This game is going to be played out in the Estadio Azul. Of course, we're most likely going to see JJ Corona back in goal, and we're definitely going to see a much stronger Chivas side than the one we saw against Toluca. So, things are getting very hyped up. It's only the second week in Liga MX, and the first week left us with kind of a bitter taste at times, seeing as how most of these teams didn't have a full complete squad to the fact that some of their players were out in the Gold Cup. But now we should see a more of a synergy within the squads, because of course, as we know, Mexico did get eliminated from the Gold Cup, which means that most of these players will be returning and most likely be featuring in their squads. So the big one, of course, is going to be Cruz Azul Chivas. I think that kind of just takes away from everything going on in the second jornada, just because, I mean, it's one of the two biggest teams in Mexico. So how can you compete with that, right? So in the aspects of the football terms, I think Paco Gemes' squad is going to look a little bit something like this. Obviously, they lost their winger Rodriguez to injury in Tijuana, and I think it's going to be an opportunity for Edgar Mendez to really just carry the team on his shoulders now that he's going to be looking at as the main star. And now with Guadalajara, of course, I think we're going to see the likes of Orbelin Pineda as well as Rodolfo Pizarro coming back and joining into the squad. So it's going to be an interesting game setup. It's going to be an interesting match. Tactically speaking, it's whether or not Matias Almeida and Paco Gemes can outsmart each other, and it's going to be interesting. So before I go any further, you guys do know how this video works. I'll be giving you guys the details while FIFA 17 will be simulating the match. And yeah, just a quick note, FIFA 18 comes out in about 2 months, so we should be definitely getting much newer content with the fact of these preview videos. So let's get straight back into this game, and let's talk Cruz Azul first. Since they are the home team, they are the team that I guess is coming into this game maybe a little bit more favorites than Chivas. The only reason why is because obviously this team's had a little bit more time to play with each other. Obviously, not that big of a hole that was left when the Gold Cup roster was announced. Of course, their major absence was definitely going to be the likes of JJ Corona. But I think the backup goalkeeper did an absolutely phenomenal job, and I think with JJ back, I think it's going to be an interesting setup. I mean, he's coming off a great Gold Cup, and if he can carry that form into the Liga MX, he's definitely going to be one of those goalkeepers to keep an eye on, especially with this being a World Cup year. So Cruz Azul, of course, beating Tijuana 2-0. It wasn't the prettiest of games. It wasn't the best of games. But it was exactly what Cruz Azul were hoping for. A very dynamic start to this campaign. They get all 3 points, and now they're coming into their first home game against a very tough opposition that is Chivas. Maybe they won't look at it as so, but I think this could be a real test for Cruz Azul, and and it's going to be interesting to see how this team comes into this game, whether they're confident, whether they have a level head, what exactly is going to be the mindset of these players, especially their new reinforcement, Edgar Mendez, the Spaniard, of course, getting 2 goals and getting into the first week's team of the excuse me, can't even talk, the first team of the week, and so for him that's going to be huge in his adaptation to the league and to everything in his surroundings. So it's going to be his first home game. Let's see how the fans take to him. I know that he looks like a great player, so I think the fans will exceed and really try to push for a great performance, and whether or not he can bring it, it's going to be up to him, and see if he can break through that Chivas defense that we know can defend pretty well. So we'll have to wait and see how the Spaniard splashes in a home game, and hopefully, for Cruz Azul's sakes, and just for the sake of the league itself, we can see, this guy come into the league and really showcase his talent and really form some synergy with Cruz Azul. And I mean, if he can do anything like this, it's gonna be quite impressive. I mean, look at the fact that he just took one defender on, just absolutely amazing. So in the end, he's gonna be the one with most of the limelight on him, but it's definitely gonna be, and it's gonna have to be an all-round performance from everyone. And as I say so, a great goal is scored in the simulation match. I think Mena is the score right there. You guys saw right there, Mendes, did what he do, ran down the byline, actually got the ball into Cuatro Kilo. I think that's how you say his name. And then, of course, then Mena places it in the bottom. Actually, really good finish from the computer, and it does mean that Cruz Azul do take the lead in this game. And whether or not that will be the case, it will have to be up to them. But we'll see this Saturday coming up whether or not Cruz Azul can do it against Guadalajara. Now, let's talk Chivas for a second. Chivas, of course, come into this game after a 0-0 result against Toluca. Probably wasn't the best showcase of talent for them. It wasn't the best result that they could have possibly wanted. But then again, you look at the squad, they had key players out due to the Gold Cup. And of course, Alan Pulido out with injury for, almost indefinitely for this Apertura. So, another result against a pretty good Toluca side, it probably wasn't the worst result, and I think Chivas will definitely take it. They didn't lose, they didn't concede, so they definitely gonna take their positives away from this. But now comes the good part. Now, they get some of their players back. They're definitely going to be in rhythm because of everything that they were going on. Whether or not they're going to be at full sync with the squad, well, that's going to be completely different, of course. And they're only going to have a couple of days to train with the squad. But it's going to be interesting. I think, you're going to have the likes of Orbelin, Pineda coming in to this squad and really trying to showcase his talent and to just, show exactly what he showed last season. And then we're going to have the likes of Rodolfo Pizarro, of course, coming back into this squad after, I'd say a pretty fair performance from him in the Gold Cup squad. I know some people highly rated him, others didn't. So I think in the end he and Orbelin coming back into the squad is definitely going to be a boost of confidence for all Chivas fans and the squad alike. So I think Matias Almeida is definitely going to be sleeping a little bit more sounder, knowing that he's not going to have to rely so much on just raw talent and youth. He's going to have a bit of experience and a bit of talent with those two players coming back for the Mexican national team, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great because the better quality of players that you get for this game, it's gonna be the higher quality and the higher intensity that this match, and it's only gonna get better for us as spectators. Whether you're a fan of Cruz Azul, whether you're a fan of Chivas or a neutral, just a spectator, it's definitely a game that you want to keep your eyes on because as we know, these games tend to not really fail. There's always gonna be some drama, whether or not it's due to the fact of the soccer being displayed out on the pitch or whether it's something outside. But whatever the reason may be, in the end, this is a game that I think is going to be, one of, if not the most viewed televised game for this weekend. So it's a game to keep out on. It's going to be interesting, of course. And I think Cruz Azul do come into this game with a little bit more of an edge, just because I think they're gonna have that confidence of they beat Cholos away, they were at Tijuana, they were get all 3 points, and now they're coming home and into their home fans and maybe seeing this Chivas side as okay, they got a couple of players back, but whether or not they've had enough time to get into rhythm and with some of the injuries that they have and everything that could be piling up on the side for them, I think Cruz Azul is definitely gonna come into this game thinking, what, we're favorites for this game, and they're gonna have to showcase it, and whether or not, we'll have to wait and see. But it's definitely a game that you want to keep your eyes on because it should be an interesting game. And if I had to make a prediction here, I'm definitely gonna say a 2-2 draw. I think we're gonna have a couple of goals. I think we're gonna have a couple of excitements, and I think these two teams, even though one will feel that they come in better than the other, I think they're both pretty neutral when you put them head to head. They're both pretty good squads, but they're not there just yet. And I think the fact that, it's still early in the season, I think we're definitely going to see a game that maybe, a couple mistakes are made here, a couple great opportunities are created. So in the end, I think it's a 2-2 draw. So we'll leave that game at that. So now we're going to jump into the second game. The second must watch game is going to be Pachuca versus America. Now, of course, these two teams obviously closed the Clausura in the regular season before the playoffs, and it was one amazing game. We saw abundance of goals and some amazing goals as well. So this is a game that another one that you're gonna want to keep your eyes on, because there is so much writing into this game that maybe a lot of people wouldn't kind of, really think about. The reason why I'm saying this is because, look, both teams coming off a loss. Of course, America's is a little bit worse because they were at home and they weren't able to get all 3 points. Pachuca, as you guys can see on your screen, is definitely probably going to come out with the best squad possible, especially with the likes of, a couple of their Gold Cup squads, Gold Cup players coming back, like Burrito Hernandez, Eric Gutierrez, just to name a little bit of a few. And maybe, who knows, there's the slightest of opportunity that Goseki Honda comes and plays this game. But of course, things look like it might even be longer before he makes his debut. But it'd be great to see him against America. And then Las Águilas, they showed a very, very weak squad against Querétaro, and I think in the end, that kind of was their downfall. So they're gonna present a very, very much stronger and aggressive lineup, and whether or not they can get all 3 points, well, it's gonna have to see whether or not during training Miguel Herrera has everything in mind. Of course, there's the talks of this last refuerzo coming in, the likes of Jonathan Santos, who ended up going to LA Galaxy, didn't, take the offer from America, and it's all blah, blah, blah in the end, because once you're on the pitch, you're gonna have to create opportunities, and you're gonna have to score. So, as you guys can see right there in the simulation, Oriol Peralta getting so close to scoring right in the opening kickoff. So, let's start and let's talk about Pachuca, because of course they're the home team. They're the ones that are gonna have a little bit more of a pressure to get things going, to get the ball rolling, to get all these opportunities underway. And it's a team that is actually, on paper, a really good side. I mean, this is a team that's going to be competing in the Club World Cup, that needs to find rhythm, that needs to find a stability, and that needs to get all their star players in a rhythm of playing with each other. Because if they want to have a good Club World Cup, they're gonna have to be doing very well, not only in the league, but with every competition that they're going to be displaying for. So if this team really wants to put on a good display out there, they're going to have to come into this game and really ready to showcase everything. So as you guys can see right there, Oriol Peralta scored a wonderful goal from, I think the cross was from Zamudio. Absolutely amazing, and it's probably not what Pachuca would have wanted. So let's go back to Pachuca. I think, the likes of Edson Puch kind of, gelling himself into the squad. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, the way that this played the match against Pumas, I mean, what could I say about it? It was what it was. The free kick was the outstanding highlight of the match, and if it wasn't for that, I think both teams would have probably ended up going with a draw. So I think Pachuca is gonna have to have a little bit more creativity, but the fact that they have their midfielders back, it's gonna add to that. So the more the merrier, and in the end, Pachuca can definitely be adamant about getting a good result here. On the other hand, America, they need 3 points. They need to solidify something. They need to get a rhythm going with Miguel Piojo Herrera. Another poor result could see them, really, I guess you can say, out of the oven and into the frying pan, because, this is a team that, many people are expecting great things of, not only because of the players that they have, but of course of Piojo Herrera's second tenure in front of America. So the expectations are high because of how he left things, and the the great continuity of how this team played. The fighting spirit, that everything, the talent that they had, every single thing that went right for them doesn't seem to be going right for them in this game. And I think that's what's frustrating fans even more, because you have this illusion that this manager comes into your squad that did such an amazing job, and you're just expecting for things to pick up where they left off, and things just don't seem to be that way. The squad is relatively weaker than that one of that Piojo Herrera left, and now it's whether or not he can get the best out of these players, and whether these players are ready to perform and give it their all. We saw a glimpse of Cecilio Dominguez against Querétaro, and he looked absolutely, amazing, like a breath of fresh air. I mean, you're gonna see. Hopefully, we get to see Renato Ibarra, who just absolutely looks deadly on the wings. So, if America can keep some of these players healthy, then they're definitely gonna have a good run of form. And it's as long as Piojo Herrera knows what he's doing. I think this team's gonna be more than okay. So, in the end, America needs a good result here, and unfortunately, 3 points is not gonna be. I'm not saying that they can't get all 3 points. I'm saying it's gonna be quite difficult to get all 3 points. I think in the end, if America walk out of this with a draw, they'll look at it as a good result, but the fans will definitely have wanted more, and maybe a draw would still put a little bit of pressure on them. So we'll have to wait and see. I think it's gonna be an interesting game, because both teams are definitely gonna be looking for the result, and we'll see what way it goes. I'm gonna lean and incline for America. I think it's gonna be like FIFA said. It's gonna be a 1-0 result. I think both defenses are gonna be pretty tight, and no team's gonna want to make a mistake. And it's gonna take a bit of brilliancy from one player, and the player that does so and that breaks through and scores that one goal, we'll probably see their side take all 3 points. So if it's not a draw, I'm inclining to go with Club America. So I think they're gonna win 1-0, and we'll have to wait to see if we predict this one correct. So we'll have to wait and see. So that does it for that game. And now the last game that we are previewing, the must-see game, is the last game of the Jornada, and it's Santos Laguna versus Tigres. So of course, I think this game, if you were to put it in perspective, that you didn't have a Cruz Azul Chivas, I think this game would definitely be the must-watch game, or it probably still is, the must-watch game, only because I think this game promises to have plenty of goals. So the reason why I say that is because, of course, as we know, Tigres are, coming off a 5-0 result against Puebla. Of course, yeah, right. It was Puebla, big deal, right? Well, Puebla is still a pretty decent side, so in order to score 5 past them, it's pretty amazing, and they played a really good game. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Santos Laguna deal with this side. Now, Santos Laguna, this is a team that did not reinforce themselves the way many people would have imagined. Of course, they're gonna be relying a lot, and I mean a lot, on their youth players coming through for them. You have the likes of Sandoval getting another season, and just kind of feeling his way through. But this is a game that this is a team that drew 2-2 to Lobos WAP in the first game. Now, of course, it's only one game. You can't really, you can't really judge a lot on one game, but you kind of can, because this is a team that should have, in paper, won against Lobos WAP, only because, regardless of the fact that they didn't reinforce themselves as well, they are still a very good side. This is a Santos Laguna side that, if things go their way and if they can pick up the right form, this is a squad that could potentially be in the playoffs. So I don't see why they should have drew against Lobos WAP. Before I just say anything else, what an amazing goal that was. Just absolutely amazing from Osvaldito Martinez, just to be able to do that. And he has that in his locker, so we can definitely see something like this happening in the game, because look at this riflazo. Absolutely unbelievable. What a golazo was Osvaldo Martinez. Can he do it in real life? We'll have to wait and see. But back to what I was trying to say. Um, I think the fact that this game is so hyped up is because you have this potent attack from Tigres, who they have their front three, the Gignac, Vargas, and Valencia, who had a hat trick, which is absolutely amazing in his return back to the Liga MX. So you have this potent force that is Tigres, that can just run at you and score so many goals. And then you kind of have this little wonky defense that proved against Lobos Boab that they aren't really such a cohesive unit. That it's a big call for concern, because if you're a Santos Laguna fan and you saw exactly what was going on, and you see Tigres is coming in, I think you get a little bit worried, and you get a sense that if your defense doesn't tighten up for this game, you could see probably a similar result in the fact that they could score 3 goals on you, 4. I'm not gonna say they're gonna do that, of course, but I think if this Santos Laguna side doesn't, I guess you can say, for a lack of term, get their things straightened out, then you can see this team side obviously dominating. But it's not to say that the Santos Laguna doesn't have what it takes to take on Tigres and defeat them possibly. And I'll say why. Because this is a team that just has this fighting spirit installed into them. You saw them go behind 2 times against Lobos Boab, and both of those times they were able to come back and get themselves back into this game. Of course, in the end, it was only a 2-2 draw, but it kind of explains and gives to the fact that this is a team that has the right mentality, but whether or not they can execute their game plan, that's a different story. So Santos Laguna, I think if they can get everything together, if they can straighten out their defense, I think this is going to be a good game, because Tigres, as we know, with all their reinforcements, with all their great players, I mean, now they're going to have the likes of, Dueñas coming back. It's going to be interesting to see how all this copes up and ends up. But I think this is a game to look out for if you want to see goals, because I think this is a game that, could easily end up going 3-3. So we'll have to wait and see. But in the end, I'm inclining to say Tigres is going to take this one, only because I think they have ultimately the better squad. I think they might have the best squad of the Liga MX this season, and let's face it, they're one of the key title contenders for this Apertura. And if they're able to win this game, it's just gonna solidify that statement. And if that's the case, this Tigres side, they could totally become just this totalitarian side that dominates the Liga MX. Just because they hold that financial power. So it's going to be interesting to see how they execute their game plan, whether or not Tuca will play with a 4, whether or not he'll play with a 3 at the back. It's going to be interesting, but I think one of the key players that you're going to want to look into is definitely to see whether or not Ener Valencia can continue his run of form. I know there's a lot of great players out there for Tigres. Sosa, Aquino, Lucas Cinnamon. I'm pretty sure I butchered that name. But it's going to be interesting. And of course, you always have the player that is Gignac. So it's going to be interesting. I think I'm going for a 2-1 victory for Tigres. Like I said, this is a game that's going to have goals. So it's going to be interesting. So, keep your eyes peeled. Definitely watch this game Sunday come at it's the last game that's wrapping up. The game simulation say it's gonna be 1-1. I think it's gonna be 2-1. So that's my prediction, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below, who do you guys think is gonna win in every single game, and let me know if you guys think these predictions are gonna be correct, because last week we only predicted one right, and that was the Toluca Chivas game that ended up 0-0. So it's going to be interesting to see. Make sure you guys catch all the action of the Liga MX week 2. And if you guys want to read a little bit more in depth of what I think, the game plan and all this is going to be for the teams, read my article on last Word on Soccer. I wrote down a preview article for these top 3 matches that you must see if you want to see some good entertaining Liga MX football. Of course, if you have the opportunity to watch every game, do so, because this league will not disappoint you. So yeah, get yourself onto that. So I'll leave it here. I'll see you guys in the next video. But until next time, guys, take care.